You need to read this. Yes, you, because I was you, curled up on the bathroom floor at 2:17 a.m., staring at my phone like it was going to resurrect itself and apologize. It didn't. He had just told me, "I don't think I can give you what you want." That was it. 4 years together reduced to a sentence so calm, so clean, it barely left a bruise on his voice, but it shattered something inside me. And the worst part? I said, okay, like I was negotiating the return of a sweater, like I wasn't actively breaking. I remember sliding down the cabinet, my back scraping the wood, trying to breathe without making noise because my roommate was asleep in the next room. I didn't want anyone to hear how small I'd become. I cried into my own hands so hard I tasted salt for hours. And still, I hoped he'd text. I hoped he'd say he made a mistake. I hoped he'd choose me. He didn't. Instead, I spent months replaying every moment, wondering which version of me had been too much, too emotional, too needy, too intense. He had the chance to love me, and he chose to lose me. That's not love. But when you're in it, you don't see that. You just remember the way they held your face the first time, the way they said, "I've never met anyone like you." You cling to the version of them that felt safe, and you forget the version that let you cry yourself to sleep in the fetal position, asking God to make the pain stop. I endured. That's the word I use now. I endured someone who made me question my worth, and then made me feel dramatic for asking for reassurance. And here's the part nobody talks about. When he finally came back, I didn't want him anymore. But getting to that place, it nearly destroyed me. And if you're still in the middle of it, still hoping they'll choose you, I need you to stay until the end. Because the version of you who survives this, they're stronger than you think. If you've ever loved someone who made you feel like you were asking for too much just by wanting consistency, if you've ever replayed arguments in your head at 3 a.m., wondering how it became your fault, if you've ever stayed longer than you should have because the memories were louder than the red flags, you're in the right place. On this channel, we tell the stories people are too afraid to say out loud. The messy ones, the humiliating ones, the ones where we begged for love that should have been freely given, not to shame ourselves, but to wake up. So if you've ever endured heartbreak that felt like it rewired your brain, subscribe, because these aren't just breakup stories, they're survival stories. And tonight's one, it starts with a love that felt perfect, until it didn't. I met Daniel when I was 27. He walked into the coffee shop where I worked part-time while finishing grad school, ordered a black coffee, and made eye contact like he wasn't afraid of it. You know that kind of eye contact? The kind that feels intentional. He smiled like he already knew me. "Long shift?" he asked, nodding toward the stack of textbooks behind the counter. I laughed. Long life. He came back the next day, and the next. By the fourth visit, he said, "Are you going to make me ask for your number, or are you going to put me out of my misery?" It was charming, confident, easy. I hadn't dated anyone seriously in almost a year. I told myself I was focused on school, on growth, on not repeating old patterns. But Daniel felt different. He listened when I talked, or at least he looked like he did. On our third date, he reached across the table and brushed his thumb across my wrist. Soft, intentional. "I like how passionate you are," he said. "It's rare." No one had ever said that to me before. And when you're used to being told you're a lot, being called rare feels intoxicating. The first 3 months were a blur of late-night drives and kitchen dancing. He'd grab my waist while I was washing dishes and whisper, "You don't even know how obsessed I am with you." Obsessed. At the time, it sounded romantic. Now, it sounds like a warning label. But I didn't see it then. I saw the way he'd kiss my forehead, the way he'd introduce me to his friends as the smartest woman in the room, the way he'd hold my hand in public like he wanted people to know I was his. The first red flag came disguised as a joke. We were at a friend's birthday party. I was mid-story, telling everyone about a presentation I'd nailed earlier that week. Daniel laughed and interrupted me. Babe, you're giving the TED Talk version. Relax. Everyone chuckled. My cheeks burned. I smiled because that's what you do when someone embarrasses you in a room of people. You make it smaller than it feels. Later that night in the car, I said softly, "Hey, it kind of hurt when you cut me off." He sighed. I was kidding. You're so sensitive. That word, sensitive, it landed heavier than it should have, but I swallowed it because he kissed my temple after, because he said, "Don't make it a thing." So I didn't. Months passed and the highs were still high. That was the problem. He'd pull me into his chest and say, "I don't know what I'd do without you," and I'd forget every moment that made me question myself. Because love, or what feels like love, has a way of editing your memory. My friends started asking questions. "You seem tired," my sister said once. "I'm fine," I insisted, and I believed it, because admitting I wasn't fine would mean admitting I'd built my happiness on someone who made me feel uncertain. And uncertainty is easier to ignore than abandonment. The first time he went distant for days, barely texting, barely calling, I convinced myself he was stressed. When he finally came over, I hugged him like he'd returned from war. He smiled faintly. "You worry too much." Maybe I did. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe if I was less emotional, less needy, less expressive, he wouldn't pull away. So I tried harder, loved louder, asked for less, until one night, sitting across from him on his couch, I asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Are you still happy?" He didn't answer right away, and in that silence, I felt it, the beginning of the end. He looked at me, not with cruelty, not with anger, just with distance. "I don't know," he said. 4 words. And suddenly, every compromise I'd made felt heavier. Every time I'd swallowed hurt. Every time I'd convinced myself I was too sensitive. "I don't know." That's when the illusion cracked. But I wasn't ready to see it yet. So I did what people do when they're terrified of losing someone. I told him, "We can fix it." And he nodded, but he didn't look convinced. And for the first time, neither was I. After he said, "I don't know," something inside me went on high alert. Not the loud kind, not screaming, more like a smoke detector with dying batteries, faint, persistent, impossible to fully ignore. We didn't break up that night. That would have been clean. Instead, we entered what I now call the slow bleed. Daniel became careful. Not kinder, not warmer, just careful. He texted enough to avoid suspicion. He called just often enough to say we were fine. He kissed me like muscle memory, but the ease was gone. It felt like he was already halfway out the door, just polite enough not to slam it. And I became hyper-aware of everything. How long he took to respond, how often he checked his phone and angled the screen away, the way his tone shifted when certain names popped up. There was one name in particular, Lena. The first time I saw it, I didn't think much of it. Just a notification, just a coworker, he said. "She's new, kind of clueless. I help her with projects sometimes." Okay, that made sense. But the texts kept coming. Late, too late for projects. One night we were lying in bed, my head on his chest. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He shifted. Subtle, but intentional. I felt it. He waited a few seconds before grabbing it. I glanced up just as he tilted it away from me. "You good?" I asked lightly. "Yeah, work stuff." Work stuff. At 11:48 p.m.? I nodded, but something in my stomach tightened. I tried to talk myself down. Don't be that girl, don't be insecure, don't start something over nothing. Because he had trained me, gently, over time, to doubt my instincts. Remember when you got upset at the party? You're sensitive. Remember when you felt hurt about the anniversary? You overthink. So now, even when my chest felt heavy, I questioned it. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe this is just my anxiety. The gaslighting didn't happen all at once. It was subtle, strategic. One evening, I brought it up. Hey, I've just noticed you and Lena text a lot. It makes me feel kind of weird. He didn't look up from his laptop. Wow. That was it. Just, wow. My throat tightened. What? You don't trust me? That's not what I said. It kind of is. His voice was calm, controlled, almost disappointed. I'm literally just helping her at work. I can't believe you'd go there. Go where? I wasn't accusing him of cheating. I was telling him I felt uneasy. But suddenly, I was on trial. I just wanted reassurance, I said quietly. He sighed like I asked for something unreasonable. You know what's exhausting? Feeling like I'm constantly being monitored. Monitored? The word hit me like a slap. I felt my face heat up. I'm not monitoring you. I can't have female coworkers now? That's not what I'm saying. He closed his laptop. Then what are you saying? And that's when I felt that familiar shrinking, like my feelings were too loud for the room. I'm sorry, I whispered, and the moment I said it, I hated myself a little. Because I wasn't crazy, I wasn't accusing, I was asking to feel safe. But he wrapped the narrative so quickly, so smoothly, that I ended up apologizing for discomfort he created. After that, I stopped bringing her up, but I noticed everything. How he'd step into the other room to take certain calls, how he'd smile at his phone and then clear his expression when I walked in. I started losing sleep. My appetite shifted. My confidence, the thing he once called rare, felt like it was evaporating. My best friend, Alyssa, noticed first. We were sitting at her kitchen table, wine glasses half full. You don't laugh the same anymore, she said. I frowned. What does that even mean? It's like you're waiting for something. I stared at the condensation on my glass. I think he's pulling away. She didn't hesitate. Then let him. I laughed bitterly. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I invested 4 years. Because I imagined a future. Because loving him became part of my identity. You don't just untangle that overnight. But the tension escalated. Small arguments became sharper. One night I asked if we could plan a weekend trip. He shrugged. I don't know what my schedule looks like. You don't know your schedule for next month? I just don't want to commit to something. There it was again. Non-commitment disguised as practicality. Why does everything have to be a big thing with you? He snapped when I got quiet. Because it feels like you're already gone. But I didn't say that. Instead, I said, never mind. And that became my anthem. Never mind, it's fine, I'm overthinking. Until the night everything cracked open. He was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the counter. I wasn't planning to look. I swear I wasn't. But the screen lit up, and I saw it. Lena, last night was dangerous. My heart stopped. Not metaphorically, physically, like my body forgot how to process oxygen. I stared at the message, hoping context would magically appear. It didn't. Just that. Dangerous. Winking emoji. I felt like I was watching my life from outside my body. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I know people argue about privacy. I know. But in that moment, privacy felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. The passcode? His birthday. Of course it was. The thread opened. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Inside jokes, late night conversations, compliments. You looked amazing today. Wish you were here. And then, you're trouble. She responded, only for you. I couldn't feel my legs. I sat down on the closed toilet lid. The shower turned off. Water stopped.
Reality rushed back in. I had maybe 30 seconds before he walked out. I could put the phone down, pretend I never saw it, continue living in denial, or I could finally stop shrinking. The bathroom door opened. Steam rolled out. He froze when he saw me holding his phone. "What are you doing?" His tone wasn't guilt, it was anger. That's when I knew. I stood up slowly. "Who is Lena to you?" His jaw tightened. "I told you, a coworker." "Coworkers don't text like this." I held up the phone. His face flickered, just for a second, before hardening. "You went through my phone?" There it was again, the reversal. "You cheated on me." "I didn't cheat." "Then what is this?" "It's flirting. It's nothing." Nothing. I felt something inside me tear. "You told her last night was dangerous." He rolled his eyes. "You're blowing this out of proportion." Out of proportion? I felt dizzy. So I'm crazy? He didn't say that. You didn't have to. He grabbed the phone from my hand. "This is exactly why I can't talk to you about things. You spiral." Spiral. That word echoed in my head, because maybe I had spiraled. Maybe I had become anxious and suspicious and too much, but I wasn't wrong. He stepped closer. I didn't sleep with her. The way he phrased it, not "I love you," not "I would never hurt you," just a technicality. "You were emotionally cheating," I whispered. He scoffed. "That's not even a real thing." I felt tears spell before I could stop them. "I begged you for reassurance. I told you I felt weird. And I told you you were overthinking." The coldness in his voice. It was like the man I loved had been replaced. "I can't believe you invaded my privacy," he continued. And somehow, I started to feel guilty. That's the sick part. "I wouldn't have looked if you hadn't made me feel insane," I said quietly. He grabbed a towel and walked past me. "I need space." Space. The word that always means distance. "Are you choosing her?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just kept walking. And in that silence, I got my answer. I drove home that night in a fog. I don't remember the traffic lights. I don't remember the music. I just remember pulling into my driveway and finally letting the sobs come. The kind that hurt your ribs. The kind that make you question every memory. Was it ever real? Did he ever love me? Or was I just convenient until something shinier walked in? I called Alyssa. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just listened. And then she said something that shifted everything. "You didn't lose him tonight. He lost you the moment he made you doubt your sanity." I didn't feel strong. I felt shattered. But for the first time in months, I wasn't confused. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't sensitive. I was betrayed. And the illusion? It was officially gone. The breakup didn't happen in one dramatic explosion. There was no glass shattering, no screaming neighbors, no cinematic storm outside. It happened 3 days later, in silence. After I found the messages, Daniel didn't call the next day, or the day after that. No apology, no reassurance, no "can we talk?" Just space. The kind of space that feels like abandonment disguised as maturity. By the third night, I couldn't take the waiting anymore. I drove to his apartment. Not because I wanted to beg, at least that's what I told myself. I just needed clarity, closure, something solid to hold on to. He opened the door like he'd been expecting me. Not relieved, not nervous, just neutral. "Hey," he said. "Hey."